Hi folks, Doug Jones here with Danley Sound Labs. This is the third video in our Direct training series. In this video, we're going to continue to examine the control window of Direct, focusing on audiences. So let's jump right in. Once again, it's best if you have a copy of Direct open so you can follow along with me. Just a quick reminder, Direct is not an acoustics program. We're calculating the direct field coverage only, so the audience plane is simply a way to tell the program where to create a coverage map. Once again, I'm going to be using the Mac version. The PC version has the same exact functionality, but the tabs will look a little different. Alright, starting here at the left, we see the numbered button, which we're skipping at the moment, then the on-off button, then the solo button. These all behave exactly like the controls for speakers that we covered last time. Then we have the XYZ coordinate fields, and these fields determine the location of the audience datum in the three-dimensional space. So that we can more easily see the audience datum, I'm going to turn off the color for the audiences for just a moment. To do that, you go to Config, select Audiences Color Off. Now, when we create an audience plane, you can clearly see the datum, especially if I move it away from the primary datum. You see the red X? Okay. Now, let's turn the color back on. Next is a field where you can give the audience a name. This can be really helpful in those jobs that have many audience planes to help you keep track of what's going on. Next is a color box that lets you customize the color of an audience plane should you wish to do so. Remember, the audience color has no real purpose other than making it easier to identify a specific audience in a large model. Next, we see a field labeled H. This is the height of the audience plane at a point opposite the datum. Let me demonstrate. Suppose you know that a certain audience plane has a rake or a pitch to it, but you don't know the angle. All you know is that the audience is 10 feet deep and the back of the audience is 4 feet higher than the front. Alright, so we can build that. First, just turn on an audience. You'll see that it creates a big square. The L field sets the distance between the datum and the opposite side. So in our case, we want 10 feet. Okay, now we can enter 4 feet here in the H field, and we see that the audience is now pitched at around 21 degrees. The cool thing is that in Direct, you can either enter the rake or the pitch in degrees, or you can enter it in feet if you know how high it is opposite the datum. The next field lets you rotate the audience around the datum like this. We've already discussed the L. That sets the length of the audience from the datum to the opposite side. Width number 1 sets the width at the datum. Width number 2 sets the width opposite the datum. If you want these to be locked together, simply click the Lock W button and they'll be locked. You can set either of these two fields to 0 to create triangles. We're going to skip layers for just a moment. We're going to talk about that in a future video. And finally, the Options selector. This is a right-click button, and the first 4 choices were covered in the last video and should be self-explanatory. We also looked at the mirroring controls as well, and these behave exactly like the speaker controls. I realize that I neglected to show you how locate works. Speakers, audiences, and microphones all have the ability to be located. I'm going to open up a big job with lots of audiences to show you how this works. First, select the audience you wish to locate. Right-click, select Locate. Now, click your mouse in the window that you want to locate or find the audience. Since Direct can support many open windows simultaneously, you just need to pick the one that you want. I'm going to pick this window here. So when I click in the window, you can see that Direct quickly places the audience I selected right in the middle of the window. It will do the same for speakers and mics. Alright, there are 3 ways to create and place audience planes. First, you can simply turn on an audience, and then by using the location controls and the shape and orientation controls, you simply manipulate it into the shape you want at the location you want. And for simple models, this may be the fastest way to go. You can also use the Point tool. To use the Point tool, you start by setting the view to Plan, find a good zoom level, and then select Point. You see the button turns red. This is a reminder that when Point is chosen, all the other mapping controls are disabled. Now, select a point in the model where you want a datum of an audience to be placed. Your control wheel will set the value of Z. Click. Now go to the Audience tab and click on the number of an unused audience. You'll see that a new audience is placed with its datum at the point you selected. Okay, the third method is a bit complicated to explain, but it can be very useful. It needs a wireframe to work and works best when the wireframe is not too complex. Now here's a somewhat idealized arena that we can use to demonstrate. You'll notice that I have set the model so the primary datum is in the exact center of the model. This lets me use symmetry to my advantage. Alright, let's select the audience tool. Now it's important to remember that when using this tool, you always have to go counterclockwise around the seating plane. Click on the bottom left vertex. You'll see a blue cross appear. Now mouse towards the second vertex. You'll see a green line is formed between the two. You click on the second vertex, it turns from blue to red. Now mouse towards the third, remember going in a counterclockwise direction. You'll see a trapezoid is formed. When you reach the third vertex, click the mouse. The trapezoid will disappear. Now you can click on the number field of an unused audience plane, and you should see a perfectly formed audience appear. This technique does require some practice, and it's not always 100% accurate, but once you get the hang of it, it really will speed up your model building. Well, that's it for this time. Next time we're going to take a look at the frequency response window and the use of virtual microphones. Until then, thanks for your support of Danley Sound Labs and for using Direct. I'm Doug Jones.